Welcome to Lunchtime News. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. We will dig into it. Officials from Microfinance Support Center, led by Executive Director Peter Mjuni, have again been told to return to the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament after appearing before the committee with missing information on the list of beneficiaries of Emyoga for the financial year 2022-23. The committee chairperson, Mwanga Chivumbi, says they submitted documents that had all Emyoga beneficiaries instead of selecting those for the financial year under audit. According to the Auditor General's report, Microfinance Support Center was given 135 billion shillings for Emyoga that financial year. However, their documents are not convincing as to how much of this money was absorbed. They were told to return to PAC this Friday for the committee to complete their audit queries. Executive Director Peter Mjuni says the MPs now indicate they need deeper portfolio of their documents, which was not the case at summoning them at the beginning.
A total of only 124 was outstanding in loans, and of which 12.5 had been disbursed in this year. Meaning that out of the 35 they got, they only disbursed 12.5. And they have been receiving money and not disbursing it.
Yeah, a list of your clients, but I think not annual. Am I right?
Those clients,
this client list you've given does not speak to any financial year. It's generic, annual. Okay? And then you want it to do as the budget is. In the year we had this money, we gave it to so and so and so, and it totaled this. In the previous year, we gave out this. Like you said, both from the allocation and from what you generate and give out. Then finally, for our consumption, you will give us this list, which you have already given. Said our outstanding in total is this. But we segregate annual because I think you see the difficulty I have, is that my mandate is to audit you for this financial year. The previous year I was not in charge even.
So all these loans should be given the date. We should have the column for date, the column for interest, outstanding, the column for outstanding penalties and principal chair.
Mr. Chairman,
the whole thing is not communicating a lot.
Yeah. And giving us all, because this is quite confusing. You're trying to divert our attention from what we are interested in.
Let's not these documents or these figures, and their supporting narratives need to be taken us through and be able to interact with our guests when we are better equipped with either answers from the documents themselves or more questions to the guests.
We note that the members will require sometimes additional information to understand this. Note that we intend not to bring it.
Our government has announced the 27th of June this year to commemorate the Public Service Day to recognize the contributions of public service in the socio-economic development of the nation. The Permanent Secretary Public Service, Catherine Tarakwate Musingwire, says they will also have discussions of the achievements and challenges in the public service. The day will be celebrated at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, where the PS says the public will be provided with services for free.
Its mission. The objectives of this commemoration are to reflect on the functioning of the public service, its mission, objectives, programs and projects, problems and challenges, successes and failures. It is also to raise the image of the public service and build trust in government through the following: reorganizing and making known the importance of the public service, its contributions and benefits to civil society, the private sector, and citizens generally. It is also a moment of rewarding excellence and innovative practices in the public service, thus motivating public officers to further promote innovation and other initiatives. It prepares the public service for a better future through enhancing professionalism and proposing changes for social well-being of society. It provides avenues for public officers to exchange experiences, innovation and good practices in governance and public administration as a guide to reflect on the performance of the public service in Africa in general. Finally, it is a moment where collecting, documenting and sharing best practice and tools for possible replication within a country as well as across the African continent are made. This year's commemoration theme is empowering a citizen-centric public service for an inclusive and thriving 21st century Africa, a journey of lifelong learning and transformation. Uganda will join the rest of the continent to mark the African Public Service Day on 27th June 2024 at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds.
Now, the head of Poverty Alleviation Department, PAD, under State House, Joan Kakwenzire, has pledged to prioritize Bulamuti Model Village in Kamuli District after realizing the impact from the beneficiaries. Kakwenzire highlighted this as she led a team to Bulamuti Village in Kamuli to assess the performance of the project.
We are happy that you are here today. We are happy that you are with us here. And we think that we are blessed to have you. Your programs is a very good thing to have happen to us here. We think that our farmers are going to benefit. We still need more guidance and sensitization on this program.
A little I've seen our farmers, what they have turned into what we gave them. Why can't we add on? You have formed a very, very viable circle. From your own efforts. There is no way we can watch USAID supporting this circle and we don't support it.
I would like to thank Poverty Alleviation Department for the input so far they have given, because in 2009 I received in Haifa. Then it went on producing. 2011 I received 2 piglets which have been multiplying, and it has done a lot to assist me in my family affairs and even educating my children.
It aims at supporting our rural farmers, increasing their incomes and improving their livelihoods through the crop finance program.
Meanwhile, refugee students and those from host communities in the host community in Ariwa Secondary School, Yumbe, have been urged to improve performance as the school has been equipped with 20 computers and internet by MTN Uganda. Founded in 2017, Ariwa Secondary School was established by UNHCR in order to improve easy access to post-primary education for refugee learners and hosts in Bididi Refugee Settlement, Yumbe District. According to the head teacher and other stakeholders, the ICT facility will improve research for students as it has addressed challenges the school has been facing.
Work hard. You're in a rural setup. God has given you opportunity to have access to information where you can do research. You have the computers here, you have internet. The sky will be the limit.
Every year, MTN as a group,
does something called the 21 day of yellow care, gets into the villages, comes to the schools and does something for the society. So this year we've also chosen Arriva SS, okay, because they needed some support from MTN. We are supporting them by first giving 20 computers for them. Okay, we are also giving them 1 year of internet so that they can use the computer and the internet to do their research, to have fun, to learn more. Okay, we are also ensuring, because electricity is a bit of a problem here, we are also ensuring solar power for that lab so that the electricity is there for the lab for them to use the computer. We are building a changing room for the girl students, okay, so that they can have a more hygienic time.
We are now competing with other schools as well academically. The education is no longer as a protection unit, and this is evidenced by last year's performance in USCE, where we managed to score 18 points by one of our candidates in Senior 6 who was offering sciences, that is PEM stroke ICT. We only had 6 desktops, and these 6 desktops is supposed to support the 1,025 learners. And because of that, we had only limited learning of ICT for A-level section. With this MTN support, I believe even our O-level learners are now going to learn.
And with that, let's take a quick break. When we return, more details. You're watching Lunchtime News.
Amanya gange nze Namutebi Sharon nga nkolera wano wennyini Saka Kirombe oba Makindye. Empangula gye nawanguddemu ssente mbadde nga nkozesa mobile money nga nsindika school fees w'omwana ku ssomero. Okutegeera nti mpangudde, nze mu mutima neegambye nti kambalinde bamale okujja ndyoke nzikirize nti mpangudde. Kyennyinza okubagamba nti si byabafere, weewaawo abafere gye bali, naye ennamba eri emu yokka, era bw'eba ekukubidde omanya eyo si yabafere. Mpulira bulungi nnyo 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 era ndi musanyufu nnyo. Naye MTN mobile money mbebaza nnyo, mwebale nnyo, mwebalire.
Together we're unstoppable. What is a dream? What does it mean to you? To her? To them? It's time we dare to dream anew. Dream bigger, better, bolder. Let's dare to dream of tomorrow, today, of someday, of the hope that comes with change, of a change that transforms lives. That glimmer in your eyes, the prospect of maybe, of all the hopes that we carry. It's the promise of enjoyments, co-enjoyments for you and your mates. A dream keeps us going. It's the one thing that drives us, inspires us, motivates us. One goal, one hope, one dream. With the Uganda National Lottery, your dream can become a reality. Bigger is here. What's your one thing?
Welcome back. And now in business news, farmers have been encouraged to grow crops that sustain little rainfall expected in the June, July and August season and apply mulching for perennial crops. Meanwhile, cattle keepers have been advised to have extra water and food for their animals. This was revealed by Uganda National Meteorological Authority while in Bwaise in the suburbs of Kampala in Climate Cafe, where they released the June, July and August forecast, where they projected as it is going to be a dry season associated with little rainfall unlike the previous season.
May season, which had a lot of rain, which we normally refer to as the wet season. Here, the dry season also, we have some rains which are coming in, and they are what we call on and off rains that come in during these dry seasons. For the rainy season of March, April, May, we were advising most of the farmers, especially those in the villages or in the rural areas, to grow crops of all types. But this time we are requesting that you have to grow crops which can be sustained by this little rain. And on top of that, there are some people who are rearing animals, especially the cows. You can also keep some food, that's the fodder. You have to harvest at this time, use this rain also to harvest some water for our animals and also crops.
So from this forecast, we're expecting a dry season. But of course, within this, we shall have isolated rains that will be happening within the season. As much as it's going to be a longer dry season, but we should be ready for the rains that might come in within the given months, let me say from the period of June to August. However, the greater part of it is going to be a dry season. And within this, the community should prepare for events that come with dry spells. Let me say, there is always a shortage of water that normally hits the communities within Bwaise here, given the fact that most of them use water springs which exist within here. And within this information, they can be in position to prepare. There is also an element of rainwater harvesting, where these people can harvest water during the rains and store it in preparations for the dry season. But also it informs some other activities that these people undertake.
Today we have organized the Kawempe Community Climate Cafe, working with Act Together and Uganda National Meteorological Authority under the Daraja project. NECJOGA's role is to see that information is disseminated and communicated to the end users within the slum communities. And when we talk of slum community, we picked Bwaise and Kawempe community, whereby we saw that most of the areas are flood during the rain days and also any time when it rains. So today we say that let us invite community members, whereby we had local council, politicians, local organizations, to see that we train them on how to disseminate this information.
On the international scene, nearly 80 of the countries represented at the Ukraine Peace Summit agreed that territorial integrity and the principles of international law and the UN Charter should be the basis for peace talks to end Russia's war on Ukraine.
Leaders from 101 countries and organizations wrapped up 2 days of discussion on ending Russia's war in Ukraine with a show of unity against Russian aggression. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for a diplomatic solution to end the war.
We are here today for the sake of diplomacy, and Ukraine has always believed in the power of diplomacy. War is not our choice, it's Putin's choice. At the Peace Summit today, we will do everything we can to start moving towards real peace.
Russia was not invited, but just before the summit, President Vladimir Putin demanded that Ukraine withdraw from territory captured by Russia and abandon its goal of joining NATO. US and other representatives at the summit saw this as an ultimatum, saying Russia has no intention of fostering peace or real negotiations.
He is not calling for negotiations, he is calling for surrender. America stands with Ukraine not out of charity, but because it is in our strategic interest. We stand with delegations from more than 90 nations who also have a strategic interest in a just peace in Ukraine.
China also did not attend the summit. Michael Carpenter, Senior Director for Europe at the National Security Council, says its absence reflects Beijing's support for Russia in the war, which he says has included providing Russia with defense technology and components.
We're talking about components like nitrocellulose, microprocessors, optics, other things that are directly used for Russian weapons, that are not just being used in Ukraine, but for our European partners. It's important to understand that pose a long-term threat to European security.
Some African leaders also were present, highlighting the magnitude of the war in Ukraine, a leading producer of grain for the world. Speaking at the end of the meeting, Ghana president says the consequences of Russia's aggression extended far beyond Europe.
In many ways, Africa has been the greatest victim of the conflicts. Consideration is given to the disruption of global trade, supply chains, lines, and the blockade of the Black Sea have had devastating impacts on our economies, on our standards of living. High inflation, skyrocketing prices of foodstuffs.
Most of the participants in Switzerland signed the final document of the summit. However, some, including South Africa, Brazil, India, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, abstained. Ukrainian representatives announced the start of preparations for the next summit, which they aim to organize before the U.S. presidential elections. Representatives of some of the nations said they hope to see Russia at the negotiating table then.
The summit participants agreed that Ukraine needs.
And U.S. President Joe Biden hosted NATO's chief on Monday, less than a month before the newly enlarged security alliance converges in Washington for its annual summit. That's the meeting. At the White House, the two leaders spoke of how they will ensure predictable support to Ukraine for the long haul.
NATO is not resting on its laurels as it turns 75. On Monday, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg landed in Washington to hash out plans for a July summit that will explore how the security grouping can support Ukraine's fight against Russia's invasion. President Joe Biden praised the alliance and said a record number of members are meeting NATO's commitment to spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense.
NATO was founded 75 years ago, and I think the lessons we've learned then and about standing together to defend and deter aggression have been consequential. And we've made NATO, under your leadership, we made it larger, stronger, and then it's more united than it's ever been.
Earlier Monday, Stoltenberg said NATO allies had given unprecedented support to Ukraine. He estimates this will cost the alliance at least $45 billion per year going forward.
At the summit, I expect allied leaders to agree for NATO to lead the coordination and provision of security assistance and training for Ukraine. It is also why I have proposed a long-term financial pledge with fresh funding every year. The more credible our long-term support, the quicker Moscow will realize it cannot wait us out, and the sooner this war can end. It may seem like a paradox, but the path to peace is therefore more weapons for Ukraine.
Analysts say these discussions are setting the agenda for the upcoming summit.
The main issues still are what does the alliance say to Ukraine after it pledges of support over the last few weeks? What is the nature of the NATO-Ukraine relationship going forward? NATO is taking over from the United States the military assistance and coordination of military training for Ukraine. That's a major step that's happening right now.
Last week, Ukraine's president praised a 10-year security agreement with the U.S., saying it lays a path for the one thing Ukraine wants most, to belong to NATO.
The issue of NATO is covered through the text of the agreement. It states that America supports Ukraine's future membership in NATO and recognizes that our security agreement is a breach to Ukraine's membership in NATO.
That bridge may be long, Hamilton said, noting that other nations are also making bilateral commitments to Ukraine in the meantime.
Some of them pledging, basically mutual defense, others pledging military support over a longer period of time. So again, the Ukrainians can count on that support.
How the war could end is also on NATO's radar, Hamilton said, as is the growing awareness that there are threats beyond the North Atlantic, as reflected.
And in sports, Kylian Mbappe suffered a broken nose during France's opening game at Euro 2024, but will not need immediate surgery. The French Football Federation said a mask will be made for their captain, but it is not yet known if he will play against the Netherlands on Friday. The 25-year-old forward was forced off during Monday's 1-0 win over Austria after his first hit opponent Kevin Danso's shoulder in the follow-through from an aerial challenge. He was taken to Düsseldorf Hospital where the break was confirmed.
And Giroud calling for it, desperate for it in the middle. And there's the chance for Saliba rising, having ventured forward from centre-back and can only eat back. Colomboani, he's in the mood, isn't he, tonight? Flashed all the way across. Slap pulling one back, and they almost pulled a goal back. French lead, just helping it on. He had continued his run there, Soiseau. He's in a degree of frustration for him to try that though. Osorio scores! Brilliant effort.
Well, and that does it for Lunchtime News. I am Rhoda Ngonzi. Have yourselves a lovely afternoon.
Who opened the scoring tonight, and now they've got one back. And it's a first international. And Teo Hernandez is still going and couldn't quite find the finish.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Hello, my name is Evangelist Jasper Kim.